Hello and welcome to the Film Angle. I'm Alex.
And I'm Kris.
And today we are talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny and... Oh, sorry, Kris.
No,
Yeah.
I was just about to say, like, you singing the theme of the main Indiana Jones theme, I think I heard less of it in the movie than I just did there. It's one of my big gripes.
Teaser for what's coming up. We are also going to be talking about the new Wes Anderson film, Asteroid City. But before we get into all of that, Kris, I just want to talk Indiana Jones in general with you.
Sure.
Go on. Lay it on me. Yeah. It's like this little series of films that I found last year.
Yeah. I find it odd. I guess this guy on TikTok I followed, he kind of let the canon loose on it. No, but I mean, where do you start? I mean, I think we have to go back to our 5-year-old selves and tell the story from there, really. I mean, but this is part of everybody's, formative years of being a kid. I think it's a part of all of us, really. It's intergenerational and it's epic. It's the ultimate Harrison Ford performance. I don't know. It's so many things. It just conjures up that childish wonder of adventure film and also kind of like a masculine role model when you're a real kid. Like you kind of put this kind of guy on the pedestal and you just want to be him. It's like Han Solo, but like, I don't know, even cooler for some reason.
Yeah. I guess because he's like nerdy and cool, whereas Han Solo is a bit more like he's a scoundrel, isn't he? At the end of the day, I think I probably like didn't distinguish that as much as a kid. I was very much like, oh, it's just Han Solo with a hat on, but it's not Han Solo with a hat on. And I feel like having rewatched the quadrilogy recently, I kind of realized just how good Harrison Ford is actually, and he's really good at stepping back into these characters, and he's had to do it a lot recently with the legacy sequels to Blade Runner and Star Wars and now Indiana Jones.
I think sometimes he commits more to some than the other. I think it just it depends on where he's at in that day.
I don't know, though, but he's been so good in
sure. Like, I think especially as his Deckard, when he returned as Deckard in Blade Runner 2049, he's only in like 30 minutes of that movie, but flipping heck, I think it's like the most committed performance he gave in years.
He's softened up a bit because like he in the kind of press for the Dial of Destiny, he's a bit more kind of emotional and nostalgic when thinking about Indiana Jones. Really interesting. I think he's brilliant. I really do. I watched one of his recent thrillers as well recently, Presumed Innocent from the 90s, and he's just so good. I think I kind of slept a little bit on just how good Harrison Ford is. He's brilliant, but he's brilliant as Indiana Jones. And you're right, it's a series of films that stems from my childhood as well. I'm not sure how young I was when I saw them, but all I remember is that I got the DVD box set for Christmas. So DVDs were a thing then. So it must have been like later childhood, past 5, because like 5 was like VHS tapes. And then as I was getting closer towards 10, I think DVDs started coming around. So it was early DVDs. I remember that much.
I never owned these on digital media. I always just because they played them over here in the UK on ITV and Channel 3. We call it, they play them every week when I was a kid. So, or ITV2, you never could escape it. It was like every time it was on TV, but just put it on and just never, doesn't matter like if it's a third through it or near the end, you just watch it.
Well, that was very lucky for you, Kris. I was in Germany where we had one English TV channel, so I couldn't just watch Indiana Jones. Well, actually, I could because of the DVD.
Could, but it would have been in German.
Yeah, I got to watch Indiana Jones punch Nazis in the the place of origin for Nazis.
Yeah, did you have to pull the shades down when you watched that?
No, it wasn't that long ago. Germany's a different place, man. Plus, punching Nazis.
Exactly.
Not all Nazis are Germans.
He's punching Nazis and, I guess all of them apart. No, he's only in 2 of the movies, right?
Yeah, it's true. Temple of Doom
He punches
sans
he punches
Nazis.
like heart stealing guys, and then I don't know. Oh yeah, it's the Soviet Russians, isn't it? It's the KGB sort of guys in Kingdom of
Yes.
the Crystal
Yeah,
Skull.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yes. Are there no Nazis in that? Probably not, is
There's no
there?
Nazis. No,
No
it's
Nazis.
yeah, Kate Blanchett doing the Russian thing.
That's funny that like I associate Indiana Jones with punching Nazis. But then again, I guess now we've got 3 films with him punching
Yes, that's true.
Nazis.
That's true.
So, but 2, it was half and half, really.
So where do you like rank? Before we talk about Dial of Destiny, before walking into this, you got the 4 Indiana Jones movies. Where do you rank those sort of?
So,
Because this
when
is
I,
kind of like this does really vary from person to person. It
it
really is.
does, it does. When I was younger, I thought Temple of Doom was the best one.
Yeah, I think
Like
kids
for me,
love
it
that.
was the
Yeah,
most amount of fun. But I rewatched them all recently for for Dial of Destiny. I hadn't seen them in a little while. Like it's been a while since I kind of just went through all of the films. I loved it, absolutely loved it. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like Temple of Doom has not aged particularly well, and as much as you got to watch it through the lens of
of yeah,
when it
it's
was
the
made.
80s. Yeah,
Um, yeah, it was not. It was not the best one. For me, it was the weakest out of the original 3, but it is still better than Kingdom of
it's
Crystal Skull.
it's like the one out of the all. It's a theme park ride, that movie, and
Yeah,
yeah, it really is. But like I find it fun. I think the creativity of the opening scene and
yeah, best opener, I would
yeah,
say.
100%. And it turns into the sort of musical number action scene, and yeah, it's really fun. I think as a kid, you probably really identify with Short Round. I think he's like every kid's little access into this world. Like you're almost like the kid looking up to Indy, and you're kind of living your dream through that character.
Yeah,
Um,
you want to be Short Round.
yeah, and it helps that Short Round's really, really cool too.
Yeah,
I love the music in number 2 as well. Like Short Round has his own theme that John Williams wrote, and they use it a lot in the movie. It's a lot of fun. I think probably, yeah, it's probably like as a kid you like all the heart taking out stuff and all the disturbing stuff. Even I know there's a lot of like flack for the how the female characters are portrayed, and it's kind of like a step back from the first movie, but it's fun. It's like the whole thing that George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, whenever they were conjuring up this character, was that they were, nodding their hats, no pun intended, to the old original serials of the 30s, and the schlockiness of those, and in a way, that Indiana Jones movie is the ultimate replication of what they were trying to do. So I have fun with it for that reason, but
yeah.
probably like art from an art perspective and culturally appropriate perspective, it's probably the weakest.
It's hella racist.
I know, and this is, and we're talking about a franchise where half of it is spent punching Nazis as well, and you're still making that comment. So, yeah, no, I have fun. It's like a weird
It is
little.
fun.
It's a prequel. It's like
It's a
an
weird,
alternate story.
yeah, it's a weird prequel come sequel because like it is a prequel, but it references that. It's very strange,
Yeah,
but it is it's like we've dropped this character into another adventure, and that's what I like George Lucas is very good at this. He was very good at this when writing the Star Wars films. Not always a great dialogue guy, but in terms of like just making,
famously.
yeah, in terms of like differentiating the films from each other, each film feels different from the last.
Yeah, sure.
um yeah, I think Raiders is my favorite,
Yes,
but
I would
uh,
totally agree.
an argument could be made for The Last Crusade, and I kind of rewatching that one. I really was just like, this is so much fun. Like that is the most. That one is now the
Yeah,
most fun, and it is the funniest one as well. It is very funny, and it's kind of
yeah,
globe
yes.
trotting, and just lots of Nazis being punched, and
As a
yeah,
kid, like the 3 trials stuff, I
yeah.
absolutely fell for. I loved that part. I would like fast forward to that part of the movie just to watch that.
Yes, and
You
like
know,
when they pick the most like glamorous uh,
The
uh,
Grails, yeah.
yeah, glamorous
Yeah.
Grail, thinking that's the one that Jesus would have, but no, he's
Blew
just a
your mind.
he's just a carpenter boy, and you're like, oh, it's so smart, man, so smart. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on there, and the cameo to end all cameos, Hitler turns up, so
Yeah. And I think a lot of people love. Would it be as good though without the amazing dynamic between Ford and Sean Connery as father and son? I think that's really what carries that movie and makes it like stand out
yes,
from the rest. I think it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit more. I don't know, meaty in like in a baggy way compared to the rest of them. So I think that's why Raiders is just like a slim, really, actually quite low budget, surprisingly like just epic action movie that just knows when to nail it. And I think
yeah.
that chase sequence going
Oh,
through the Moroccan desert is like just one of the highlights of the whole series, and I get like goosebumps every time I watch it. It just moves so well.
I
I will.
forgot just how good the action was in
Yeah.
these films. Like the action is incredible. It's so visceral. It's so tangible, and I feel like they're just Hollywood doesn't make them like
Yeah.
this anymore. Like the closest film to kind of encapsulating that kind of action these days are the Mission Impossible films.
It's so funny that you bring up Mission Impossible because I was just about to make the comparison between Indiana Jones and Ethan Hunt. What makes no, but I know they're both completely different. But what makes them both some of the most entertaining like action figures on screen is that one, that they're going to make it for the end of this because they're badass, but two, they're really vulnerable at the same time. They get
Mhm.
whacked around, slapped around, and often quite comical ways, and but everything's going to be fine. It's just this sort of like relatable everymanness to their mythical quality. I don't know, there's something like it captures both at the same time, and I don't know like many other action movies when you're seeing somebody like Arnie, or you're seeing like a fast like Vin Diesel character where they're just trying to look cool all the time. It's
Mm.
not as fun as seeing somebody who's really really likable and maybe even a little bit goofy just gets slapped around but ultimately prevails at the end of it. And I think that's yeah, great comparison.
The film that always I remember most from Mission Impossible is Mission Impossible 3, because that truly is the one where like
I
Ethan
know
Hunt
you
just
love that one,
messes up
yeah.
everything. I love Mission Impossible 3. It might be my second favorite Mission Impossible
Well,
after Fallout.
we got to wait for next week as well where we got the new one. But yeah, so we really digressed there. I think you're saying that Temple of Doom, least favorite, and you're saying Raiders.
Ooh, out of the three,
Oh,
just because there are
right.
four here. So like Raiders, Crusade, they could interchange depending on my mood. Temple of Doom, and then Kingdom Crystal Skull. However,
It's not a bad
um,
movie.
it's not awful. It's not
It's not
awful.
awful.
It's not awful.
It's not a great movie. It's not a bad movie.
No, but it does. Watching them in quick succession, and I think the problem with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is like I did not rewatch that as much as the others. I was older, and the discussion uh, leaned towards everybody hating that
Mm.
film, and therefore you kind of just I just kind of was like, yeah, that film sucks.
Did you see it when it was released in 2008? Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
I
yeah.
loved
Saw
it
it in
when
the cinema. Saw it in the cinema. Thought it was fine from what I can remember, and then like having not watched it much since, you kind of go, oh yeah, everybody hates that film. It must be bad. Watching it again, I was like, okay, I can see why not everybody likes it. But watching it in quick succession with the other
Mhm.
Indiana Jones films, it does feel like an Indiana Jones film.
Yeah.
And I believe there's been a slight recoloring of the film on Disney Plus. So like
Yeah.
it does actually look more like an Indiana Jones film as well, which is nice. I remember it being a lot kind of
More digital looking.
cleaner and digital. I mean, that might just be me
Yeah.
misremembering, but I did read
No,
online
you
that there
mentioned
had
that
been
to
some
me.
tinkering on some of like one of the 4K releases or something. Apparently, they tinkered with it
Okay.
a bit.
Yeah,
So
you mentioned you watched it a few weeks back, and then you mentioned me in person that this change looked like it was made, and then I went to rewatch it about 2 weeks ago, and I completely agree. It's like a film grain added to it. It has a little bit more, especially you could see it in those desert scenes at the beginning where it just has this bit more of that filmic quality, and I do appreciate that. It's funny now that like back then the discourse was like, oh my god, Harrison Ford, he's so old, he's too
oh
old to be
yeah,
doing Indiana Jones, and I go back after watching Dial of Destiny, I go back to watching Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I'm like, oh, he looks good. He looks really great
Yeah,
there. Like
he does.
he still looks up for it.
He doesn't look old at all. I remember being in the cinema being like, man, Indiana Jones is so old. But he really is not that old.
He's really not that old.
Film. It's the problem is that Spielberg and Lucas, they love to test new technology and kind of break the boundaries of that. And it's the very, very CGI chase scene in the probably just the start of the third act in that film.
Free the Amazon,
it doesn't hold up nearly as well as Raiders chase scene, which looks real, probably because it was. You know, Harrison Ford was hanging off the back of a truck in the desert, and you just think like,
somebody dressed as Harrison Ford was.
Well, I heard Harrison Ford did a lot in the first, but then obviously he
did not do the bit where he was holding on to that whip and being dragged through the gravel.
Did he? He did. I think he did. I swear I saw something the other day where I've been deep diving more into the kind of behind the scenes, but I'm pretty sure he did. But he did barely any of the stunts in Temple of Doom because he did his back in, and then I'm not so sure on Crusade. But
can I have a take here? What I will say in Kingdom's defense, I think it might be Harrison Ford at his funniest in moments. I think the quicksand scene is like one of my highlights of the whole franchise.
Yeah.
And I love the kind of, I know it doesn't come to fruition. We'll come to that when we talk about Dial of Destiny. The whole passing of the baton to the character Mutt, who is, we learn is, spoiler alert, is, if you haven't seen it, it came out like 15 years ago now. He is his son, and I like, there's a scene where Mutt gets bitten by a scorpion, and I love the humorous like wisdom that Indy has in this scene where he's like Mutt's like, a scorpion just bit me, and he's like, was it a big one? Yeah, it was huge. Good. If it was a small one, don't keep it to yourself. And I love that. It's just like I love that little like wisdom, and it's like, it makes you think, shit, is that true? And I like, that's what I like, and it's that kid quality of me coming back into the movie, like being absolutely like, mesmerized by this guy and his adventures. So yeah, I think he's really funny in this movie, and I think that's what I got from it. I think it's the filmmaking that lets it down, which is weird for a Spielberg movie.
I was about to say, I'm not sure so much. It's the technology.
Yes, I think
because Spielberg still knows how to shoot a scene, and had it all been done practical, I'm sure it would look incredible.
Sure.
But like, he knows how to move a camera.
Yeah.
Do you like the nuking of the fridge? That seems to be the bit that everybody seems to jump on. I didn't run into it as much this time because I thought, again, it's that watching them in quick succession. They survive a plane crash in Temple of Doom by an inflatable raft. Yeah. You just think, like, stupid things have happened. It maybe dials it up to 11, but it kind of works.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. When I watch it, I'm like, I mean, you could have came up with another way to like avoid him getting into a fridge. I mean, but it's interesting. It doesn't bother me at all. I think people get more bothered by the Shia LaBeouf swinging for the trees of the monkey stuff, like Tarzan. And,
definitely.
But it's fine. You know what it is. It's not going for ultra realism, is it? It's but yeah. Yeah, I have no notes on that scene, to be honest.
It did, however, leave our hero with a very happy ending. He gets the girl, he has the kid, he has the family, surrounded by friends and family, and then
that's it. That was it. That was it forever.
It was a pretty good ending, and well, in hindsight, it's a pretty good ending. Shall we move on to the latest Indiana Jones film, The Dial of Destiny? And as always, when we discuss these films, full spoilers, it's very difficult to talk about these films without spoiling them and having a good discussion. So if you haven't seen Dial of Destiny yet, come back later. Or if you're not fussed about spoilers, stick around.
Sure. Yeah.
But Dial of Destiny, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny strips our hero of his happy ending. And we find Indiana Jones
puts him in the hands of James Mangold.
Yeah, just, dead kid
Oh,
divorced,
sad.
or at
Well,
least separated, living
look,
in New
with
York with his kind of not nearly as prestigious teaching job, and just a
yeah,
grump of an old man.
yeah, the kids aren't as into his teachings. Like, remember in the old movies where like all the girls in the classroom were like gushing over him, and now they all just look bored. He's an old man just kind of reading text off the projected screen. But yeah, I mean, we're skipping the prologue. The
Oh
prologue
yes,
is like
the
is
infamous prologue.
the now infamous prologue. Um, yeah. We were. I think it was what I was most curious about, because seeing the trailers, I think they were very wise in the trailers about what de-aging they were showing.
Mm,
Um, particularly just any time where he doesn't have to move his face, it seems to be when it's most successful. um, whenever he's leaping through the trains of this opening set piece, I kind of just every time I just thought he looked like he was on the set of the Polar Express and he was one of the Polar Express kids. um,
yeah,
it was
which
very
is it's strange to me, and I don't fault this film because of its CGI. I mean, I saw the Flash the
come
other
on.
week. It looked
Is
better
that
than that.
worse?
Oh yeah. Oh geez, by like a million, like
Flip.
awful CGI in the Flash.
I might want to
But
see it now.
oh man, it is bad. I mean, this is just kind of. I mean, we've seen this kind of like de-aging before. It's not always worked well, but I
It's
was
better
surprised.
limited when you use it limitedly and just kind of like,
Yeah,
yeah, Blade Runner. I don't know how that. I remember at the time being impressed by that. I bet if I go back to it now, Rachel might look a bit dodgy.
I don't
But
know, but like
Rogue One was. I remember Rogue One doing that very badly.
Rogue One did it badly with Leia, but
Yes,
Tarkin looked okay, but they almost
still looks a bit
overused it to the point
plasticky.
that you then knew.
The
You
human eye
just
just
knew.
knows.
It is that we see the uncanny valley, but I was surprised that this wasn't as mm, more developed than it could have been, because we've seen now in the Mandalorian. Oh no, it wasn't the Mandalorian. It was the Book of Boba Fett where they did Luke
Yes,
Skywalker, and I mean
it
they
was
did
better
do
than
it
this.
in the Mandalorian. They did do Luke Skywalker. It didn't look good, but in the Book of Boba Fett, like it was almost seamless. I
Sure, it's
I
like in
I
this
was blown
anytime that
away by that one. But this,
any,
and it's the same company. I was
yeah,
just like, oh, okay, it's not perfect.
is it ILM that does it?
Well, I just meant like Lucasfilm in general. But yeah,
Yeah.
most likely ILM, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just anytime that Ford turns his head left or right or does any sort of movement, it just turns into video game cutscene character. And
Yeah.
I don't really feel like I'm being unkind because it was distracting. I actually think the opening set piece was kind of well orchestrated. I really actually enjoyed Toby Jones in the openings. It's really cool to see Toby Jones do these sort of movies, and I like it every time he pops up on screen. And it was kind of fun opening, like callback to the like something that would come out of the Last Crusade. It felt like that, but it was just all the other stuff going on. There's the scene. I couldn't even believe that this isn't even a de-aging thing. That the part when Indy is running on top of the train, and this is really wide establishing shot of him making progress going up to the front train car, and it's just his silhouetted figure running through the train, and he just looks like a PS1 like character running through. Is like, how did they like not even get a guy just to like or a stunt double just to like to run on top of a train? It was like it just felt so portraying to like what India is, and what it is like a gritty, dirty, get your hands in stunt double sort of movie, and that's what it kind of prides itself on. And then you're just seeing it reduced to its digital format. I was so relieved when we left the prologue and we got to actually just see Harrison Ford's real face with real light on it and
Yeah.
pores on it. Even if he did look a bit a bit haggard, but
It's a
actually,
shame because like that sequence in general is kind of like, oh yeah, back to the old
mm,
adventures, or at least getting to see Indiana Jones during World War II, something we haven't seen before, only heard about his time uh, during the war. And had it been executed better, maybe we would have sunk into the film a bit more, but
Mm.
because it's the opening scenes, and you're going, "Oh, yeah, it doesn't look amazing." Uh, I mean,
Yeah,
it
it's
looks I mean,
yeah,
it
it's
looks good. There's no doubt it looks good, but it's not seamless. So I didn't sink into the film. I wasn't like, "We're back,
I didn't.
baby," and
Yeah,
I
I
should
don't
have
think it
been.
looked good. It's you have to bear in mind it's 15 years, and like anyone who's going up to see this movie, you don't want to be that guy, but you're sitting there waiting to be. You want to impress you. You're
Yeah.
like, show me what you got,
The
and
sequence itself is fun though. Like
that's what I
I love
mean.
the bomb going through the building, the castle.
Yeah,
As it slips through each floor, and he's hung by a noose, and he's trying to escape. Like I love that. That did feel kind of classic
it's just a
Indiana
shame that,
Jones.
but he looked like Beowulf. That's the
Yeah,
problem. That's the only thing. I mean, like, yeah, and also it's hard. It's Ford's voice now. It's as well,
yeah. I
and
didn't hit up against that as much. I've heard a lot of people say that, but maybe
oh, really.
I don't know why I didn't really I didn't clock the voice so much. I was
The
just like,
voice, yeah, it didn't match the body for me. But again, it sounds really petty, and I just urge people just to see it for themselves. I saw on the standard screen they are showing this movie in wide release in IMAX screens, and I can imagine if you see it on an IMAX screen, like that's just going to show the problem even worse.
mm,
So yeah, I mean, I feel bad for saying it, but it takes you out of the movie, and like that's the last thing you want is to be taken out of the movie because then you're just watching stuff happen, and you're like, oh man, I'm not catching up with this. So yeah, we crash forward to it's he's living in New York now, isn't he? And
yeah,
he's living in an apartment.
1960s.
There's empty whiskey, beer bottles
Oh,
everywhere.
it's Moon Day, so this is
Yes,
the day of. Are they launching the rocket to space? I think not so much landing on the moon.
I think they're Are they not celebrating the landing?
Are they celebrating? Oh, I don't know. I don't know my history.
Yeah, I switched off a little bit there. But he still looks good, I must say. Yeah,
Harrison Ford, yeah,
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 he still gets to the gym.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
He
I could only dream of being as in shape
looking
as
like
that
that in my
80-year-old man.
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so yeah, he bangs on the door of the hippies downstairs to turn their music down. That's where we are with our hero now. He's the shadow of his former self. We get introduced to Phoebe Waller-Bridge in this, who
hmm
is getting a lot. I feel like getting a lot of like public flack for her role in this movie. I loved. I thought she was. I know she was doing the Fleabag thing, but that's her. Like, and I really
She was
enjoy her in
fun.
this. Yeah,
She
she's
was
fun.
fun. I mean, I think, obviously,
No fault of
the
her own, I don't think.
everybody was worried that oh, they're just going to replace Harrison Ford with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. That's not the case. She's just another one of the kind of wacky side characters that kind of follows him on his adventures,
Yeah,
as there has been in every kind of film. She's a little bit more like Temple of Doom Indiana Jones. She does some of the same kind of things as Indiana Jones, but she's a lot more in it for the money than anything else.
she's kind of a
She
mixture of all those characters, isn't she?
Yeah, she even
She's
has her own
independent, but
short round.
yeah, she's both like they play her off as this like a trustworthy, a good person, but also would like maybe do you dirty anytime too. So there's like an unpredictable nature to her character. I thought she was quite good at that. Like I bought her as like a capable. She's it's worth saying like the prologue saying it's like Toby. Years later. Toby Jones. They uncover like a part of a part of a clue that leads to or part of the dial itself.
It's half of the dial.
Half of the dial, and Indy's old friend, played by Toby Jones, who we don't see in any other film, coincidentally, is obsessed by this half of the dial and becomes, a golem, really over this thing, and and ultimately this legacy passes down to his daughter, who's played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So she wants to tag along and you know get to the bottom of this thing and enlists Indy to help.
Yeah.
Um,
I thought she was one of the more enjoyable parts of the film.
yeah, sure.
I enjoyed her in it. Yeah, I enjoyed her in it.
But yeah, Mads Mikkelsen.
Ah, yes. Also from the prologue scene. The prologue sets up the whole kind of future of the film. Mads Mikkelsen is a Nazi who is now working for NASA essentially, and helped put the men on the moon. As he's a scientist, I guess, of some sort. But also after the Dial of Destiny.
I just see kids
But
going to see this movie that like you haven't learned about the moon landing yet, and then they're going to like go back to their class or tell their teachers that a Nazi helped NASA get on the moon, and that's
I mean, there was a lot of, I don't know my history as well as maybe I should, but like I believe either there's theories that some of the Nazis helped NASA, or like it is true that like some of the scientists that were used by the Nazis ended up kind of coming to the America and helping out in their kind of space program.
So a fun nod to that.
I feel like that's something I've heard maybe, but yeah, he's still a Nazi, and he's infiltrated the FBI and is
this convincing accent.
Yeah, trying to. He's
a
following
professor at Alabama or something like that, isn't he?
Yeah, he's following Phoebe Waller-Bridge because he knows that she is gonna find at least half of the Dial of Destiny, and then through her and Indiana Jones, lead them to the other half of the Dial of Destiny. And then the idea, the magic behind this MacGuffin is that it can take you back in time, or mathematically find fissures in time in which they can go. And his idea is to go back to 1930s Germany,
1939.
Yeah, kill Hitler.
When I think it's like when they invaded Poland.
Yeah, so he wants to kill Hitler, but take over Hitler's place and win the war because he's just like, I could do it better than Hitler.
Yeah, he says the line, Germany didn't lose the war, Hitler did.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah. So he still believes in the cause. He just believed that Hitler was the wrong man.
And he's got his American Nazi friends to join him. Is it Boyd Holbrook who's kind of learning German and stuff like that, but he's just like a trigger happy American.
The haircut's great.
I mean, we haven't spoken about the big kind of third act set piece yet, but they do go back in time, but not to Germany. But just to quickly say, I did think it was hilarious that the trigger happy American is the one who's just like, I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna shoot at the Roman boats.
It's so funny, but Mads gets his way. Indy is kidnapped and prisoner on the back of this plane and tied up, and they're on a one-way ticket into this fissure that's opened up, and they've got the dial, or so they think, to take them to 1939, but obviously they've made a mistake. They go through anyway and come out the other side like, oh, we did. Mads is celebrating, and we did it, Mr. Jones. And then it turns out they're back in during the Roman period, and in the middle of this massive battle with these ships. Do they say what battle it was?
Probably it's the one that Alcimedes is making the dial in, and essentially, I think the idea is that it was never going to just send them back to anywhere they wanted. It was always going to send them back here because
that's right.
He wanted help. Not that they really give it to him; they just kind of disappear. But we can get into that. We're skipping whole other chunks of the film.
Sorry,
it's my fault because I just love that Boyd Holbrook just starts shooting Roman ships from the airplane like it's going to help.
That bit's so funny. He's just, and it's not even like he's got a minigun like Henry Cavill and like in Mission Impossible Fallout. He's just got like a Colt pistol. He's just going into like legions of armies and just shooting people. That's funny. But yeah, we go back a little bit. I think that's the kind of the point though. We kind of urge ourselves to kind of skip Act 1 and 2 because I don't know. I actually am a bit fuzzy, especially on the middle section of this movie, because I just found a lot of this movie to be dull.
Yeah, I mean, as much as it hits the right beats of an Indiana Jones film,
on an AI like mechanical level, like, oh, this is supposed to make you feel like this right now. but
Yeah,
doesn't.
it lacks something, and it's not the Harrison Ford's doing a great job. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is doing a great job. I think there's a lot of characters that seem to be quite underwritten around them. So like she has her own short
Hmm.
round who isn't short round, but like he
He comes
doesn't.
in quite late into the movie,
Yeah, he doesn't really
and
do much. I don't really care about
yeah,
him. The film itself is really long. It's 2.5 hours.
it is long.
It
It is
feels
long.
long. Antonio Banderas shows up at one point, and just as
Kind of
like
fun.
some random fisherman. Does no? It wasn't.
And he
It was
gets and he
just
get and he gets third bill on this movie as well.
he's in it for like 10 minutes.
He
He's
gets
like
like
there,
6 lines.
ridiculous. Um, and they go underwater and find the other half of the dial and whatever. And there
And
is
they make a snake joke, but it's not snakes, it's eels.
very good, very
Yeah,
good.
that did kind of make me laugh,
Yeah, there's a
where like,
tuk tuk race. Oh, sorry, you were gonna say sorry.
oh, I was just gonna say it was kind, the kid said that oh, they kind of look like snakes, and then Harrison says no, they don't, which is kind
Yeah,
of funny. That's yeah, tuk tuk race, right. Action in
which
general in this movie, like the stuff during the moon landing, where all the there are all the celebrations on the town, and Harrison's on a horse or the tuk tuk. I think the thing we're comparing, like what made the scene in Raiders, the chase scene, so good was just like how it puts you in that place, and it's not actually like it's fast paced action, but you can see everything that's going on. Everything has a bite, everything has a hit, and it feels slow at the same time. Here, everything is going like 100 miles an hour. Why are these tuk tuks like going like 80 miles an hour down these streets where you just can't like? There's no real sense of place. There's no
mm,
Everything's so artificial.
yeah, and as much as like it doesn't look bad, like it does
Ah,
look good. I think, but it still doesn't feel real. But not like
it doesn't feel real.
in terms of like modern day action films, like it feels like
It
just
just looks orange.
it just feels like
Everything looks
another.
orange.
Yeah, they do have that tendency of just going to like a foreign place and just whacking a yellow filter over it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like the action again, it all just feels kind of like that. It was fine. Like
Mm.
in theory, that New York action scene. If I told you
It's a
that bloody
classic
Harrison
indie set
Ford was
piece.
gonna like ride a horse into the New York subway and all this kind of stuff, you'd be like, "That sounds so cool." But like, it's fine.
It's
Everything about it is.
devoid of feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, it really
I
is.
think it lacks purpose. You watch the whole time you're watching this, you're still pinching yourself, and you're reminding yourself that you're in 2023 and you're sitting in a cinema watching an Indiana Jones movie scored by John Williams and starring Harrison Ford, and you're still like it's like a fever dream. You're like, this is real, but like it doesn't feel real. That's what the whole movie
Yeah.
just felt like to me. The whole experience.
I think what it is like I was wondering whether with the kind of rise of fascism in our modern day politics, I was wondering if maybe the film was going to deal with the American Nazis essentially in any kind of like what was I guess what I'm trying to say is like why
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 does this thing exist?
yeah, why does it exist, why are we bringing back Indiana
I'll
Jones?
tell you, like every other legacy sequel, money.
Well, that's
I,
yeah, like
I hope not. I hope
it
not. But
is though. It
it is though.
is.
It
It
is.
is. It is because there is no story reason as to why this film exists. Like Indiana Jones had the happy ending. So what are we trying to
Oh yeah.
say here?
Well,
What
it ruins the happy ending, doesn't it?
it
Like you were
ruins the
saying.
happy ending. Even though like
That's
the
probably the
one
best bit of the
emotional
movie.
beat in the film is probably the best bit, and it is where he talks about the fact that Mutt dies and
Yeah.
or died, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge says to him like, oh, if you could go back in time, what would you do? And he said, I'd stop my son from enlisting. And like, I don't know, that hit me. I thought
Yeah.
it was really sweet, and it was a good way. Shia LaBeouf's a problematic person. They weren't going to bring him back.
Yeah, it's so
Because of
true. He's
that, and
also
because like his character wasn't the most beloved by original fans anyway. So
that's a really interesting thing you're tapping into now. Like the outside persona of the actor kind of like actually lends to the scene. There's like a sadness there in a way. I don't
like
know.
we lost the old Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, sure. Um, but yeah, and I think also Harrison Ford, he did the same thing in Blade Runner. I think where his age actually shows his vulnerability a little bit more, and whenever he does, he can actually he can do sad pretty well actually.
Yeah. Well, he
Um,
is just playing the same beats from the Star Wars Force Awakens, isn't he? Really,
yeah,
like
yeah,
I've lost
yeah.
my son. Obviously, this time, a little bit more metaphorically in Force Awakens, but
All of
uh,
these, like Blade Runner, Star Wars, and this, he plays an old man. He's lost somebody.
and his marriage is broken down. What
Yeah,
is it? They're just like Harrison. You're really good at that. Can we just keep rehashing the same things? And here it's like the same studio, the same sub studio. You're just like, ah, man. I
well,
don't know. I don't understand why this film was made. Other than the obvious. It just
When Marion comes back and does they do like a rule reversal of the where does it hurt scene from Raiders of the
mm,
Lost Ark. That was sweet. I quite like
that was
that.
nice, but that ending did feel like
And then it just the movie, like for a movie that's 2.5 hours, and then it's just like it just sort of ends at the end. I was like, oh, okay,
it
sure.
feels like they didn't know how to end this film, and I get this feeling that there
Of
was an
course, they
ending
didn't
of
know how
this
to end it.
film where Harrison Ford, or sorry, Indiana Jones, did stay in Roman times and just die. I feel like there was a version of the film and it didn't go down well. And because
Yeah,
if you
it
think,
does
the
make
more I
sense.
think about that ending, and I do, the third act of this film I think is the best.
I agree.
Uh,
I
I
agree.
keep saying third act. I don't know if there's three
Well,
acts.
it's the
The
final
final
half hour of
section,
this movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
final half hour where they do the timey wimey stuff, and I was worried that that would be stupid.
Yeah, there's a sense of
I
dread.
didn't know they would definitely go fully fledged time travel. But the thought of it kind of went, I'm not sure if I want to see that. But I guess we have seen magical things in
I was
Indiana
just
Jones.
surprised that they spent the money on it.
Yeah, and but then again, like the thing is, they don't really do much. They fly above it, and then they
Yeah.
land externally to everything that's happening. Uh, and then obviously, bad guys die. Harrison Ford has been shot. He's like, just leave me here to die. And you kind of like, I
Mhm.
guess that's a kind of nice ending. I'd be sad if they killed Indiana Jones, but I guess that's one way of doing it. But then Phoebe Waller-Bridge punches him so hard that not only are they able
Oh
to
yeah,
fly back through time, they're then able to get a flight back to New York, despite the fact that he's like the most wanted man in America.
get
Get
him
back
back
into
into
his
bed.
apartment, call all his friends, and then just have him wake up and be like, "Oh, hey, everybody's here again."
Yeah,
That's
sure. It's
how
like
hard she punched him.
punch the crap out of him.
It doesn't make sense.
Oh man, no, yeah.
And he didn't get to make that choice. So, like, in a way, emotionally,
Well,
it
he was
doesn't.
talking. He was speaking nonsense. He was out of his mind.
Yeah, but like his arc, like usually the hero decides the right thing in the end, and here he didn't really get to make
It's
that
almost like she's
choice.
the audience, isn't it? It's like, no, we're not saying goodbye to you.
Yeah,
Not
that's why I
happening.
just feel like I wonder if that scene was kind of tagged on, and I was half expecting Short Round to show up, and if
That
Ki
would have been
Kwan
good.
did show up, I would have been like, well, obviously this had been filmed
Could you
very
imagine?
last minute.
No, I mean, could you imagine? I love Phoebe in this, but like, if they wrote the role really well for Short Round and brought him back as the sidekick again,
Yeah,
that
and
would have
like
been
even
fun.
yeah, and obviously they didn't realize just how big he was going to be. But I also feel like you're so stupid for just like not even considering him before he was big again with everything everywhere all at once. But like you do think like they could have re-teamed up in World War II, and he could have become obsessed with the Dial of Destiny and then brings it back, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. There's loads of
later
things you
on.
could do. There's
It would have
loads.
been. I want to see Short Round again, man. I can't believe we didn't get that. But no. But I also didn't want him walking through that door at the end. I did think it might happen, but I'm glad it didn't.
I guess it's like Rise of Skywalker again. It's like, oh, this could have been good. Like, I still feel like there was a good Indiana Jones movie somewhere. It's like it could have been made still.
It was like very, very fine. It was like the
It
whole
was fun.
film. I was like, okay, yeah, okay. I'm
It's
not
hard though.
feeling it, but then that third act, I was just like, oh, I actually do like this. This is fun.
I
Maybe
think the
this could have been
character
more
and
of
the
the film.
nostalgia for that character goes a long, long way. You almost feel like you're portraying the character by disliking the film afterwards. And like the more separation you have from the film afterwards, the more you're kind to it. It's like it's a
Yeah.
strange
I
relationship,
feel
actually.
bad as well because like Harrison Ford clearly loves this film. Like he's tearing
Yeah,
up
I remember him like
talking about it. He
when he
loves this film.
wasn't like the first Comic-Con announcement. He was like on stage saying like he thinks this is the best one. And I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad. I'm glad he is able to kind of get some kind of closure with this. I mean, part of me just feels like I feel like they need to do another now to just kind of close it off even nicer. But then also, I'm just like, let it die. It's not going to make its money back by the sounds of
No,
it.
it never
And
was.
I think it's a big lesson for Hollywood because they spent $295 million on this, and
Really,
that
that's a
is a
prologue.
ridiculous amount of money to spend on a film where like it's not. It is nostalgic,
It doesn't feel
but
epic
I don't
in that
think there's
way.
as much nostalgia for Indiana Jones as there is for things like Star Wars, obviously.
Do you feel like
But
this felt like a Disney, like, apart from that like third act, or I keep saying third act, that final part of the movie? It felt a bit like it felt like a Disney Plus film at times. Like it felt like, I don't know.
yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from.
It, it's high budget, but looks like it just cuts all the
Yeah,
corners.
I can't believe they spent 295 million on it. That is a bad decision. I mean, it was
Eesh.
probably plagued by COVID and all that kind of stuff. So that,
Look, I'm not like a financial genius on film or box office, but I don't think it takes a genius to like know that Indiana Jones 5 is not going to make that sort of money. It's just even from the outset.
it's not, and it seems like Hollywood seems to be spending a lot of money on films because I think The Flash was on a similar budget, and again that looked awful. I don't know
The new
where that
Mission
money went.
Impossible is 295, I think.
Yeah, at least that looks expensive when you see the
Mhm.
trailer. Anyway, I mean, I guess we'll find out next week or the week after, won't we? When we actually see it, but reviews are good. But yeah, I just feel like that. I just don't know to make the money back. You need to have a wide range of audiences. I don't know if kids love Indiana Jones anymore. Like you and I
Yeah.
do from our childhood, but like, does anybody younger than us care about Indiana Jones?
I
And
haven't
then
asked
some of the
kids.
people older than us probably might have said after four, they were like, ah, well, they screwed it. I'm not watching it again.
It's so hard, isn't it? Like I haven't like sat down or like with a kid I know or anything or a teenager and watched these movies or even asked them. So like I don't know. It's strange, isn't it? I think it might be that's the thing that my parents like romanticize and they might distance themselves from it. I don't know. Like the relationship from kids and movies now is completely different. I mean, I used to I wanted to watch anything that somebody else was watching. Like if my dad or my friends were watching it and I hadn't seen it, I needed to see it.
Mm.
I had an itch, an addiction to having to like absorb anything I could. So it depends on the kid, I suppose. But yeah, it's it doesn't seem like indie is cool anymore. Oh,
Yeah,
but
it's a
you
shame.
can't take those original three films away. You can't. They'll
No.
always be incredible. And people are reassessing now. I heard Mark Kermode actually said in his review of Dial Destiny that or maybe he said like I don't think the original three films are as good as everybody remembers it. I really don't. I don't agree with that at all. Like I watched I watched those movies objectively. I really really tried. I tried to, and they end up thrilling me every single time. It's no small thing. Speaking of big budgets, though, we should we talk about small budgets? The other movie we caught up with a day later, um,
Yes.
Asteroid City, Wes Anderson's newest film. This time he's dipping into the world of sort of science fiction drama, a little bit of like looking at how the construction of a performance or a set of people in a production is kind of formed out. It's this kind of meta and physical movie going on at the same time. This movie was only $25 million, actually, which is pretty pretty insane considering probably this is probably one of his most impressive casts.
Yeah, yeah. Is a big cast of A-listers all trying to do their little artsy project.
Oh, well, spoiler alert. I think one of us liked this more than the other did.
It's funny. I didn't hate this film. I did actually like it, and it's Wes Anderson. Like his films always look incredible.
You're a bit touch and go with him though. Like
Yeah,
I'm like the fanboy, and I like everything. I like early Wes Anderson even more, but like I always look forward to one of his movies, and I think I stand up for him because I think a lot of people are very easily dismissive and snarky about somebody who invented a genre.
I think people are almost getting maybe slightly tired of his style.
Right.
I don't think that's a fair criticism, because I think, that he has built this and that is his thing. I do, his films are gorgeous. Like, there's no doubt about it.
Oh, they
Gorgeous.
are.
And I
Yeah.
love my two favorites, Rushmore and Grand Budapest Hotel. So that's me. That's my Wes
Yeah. No.
Anderson fandom. I don't know what your favorites are.
No, they're good. And everybody like looks like amazing in these movies. Like everybody looks statuesque and like, I would take if I wanted to take a free paycheck, not getting paid at all, just to be shot in one of his films, I would take it in an instant. Yeah, no, I'm a big fan. Rushmore is an incredible film. So, yeah, so is Grand Budapest Hotel. Like Ralph Fiennes is just so iconic in that role. But
Mm,
for me, the first Wes Anderson film I had ever seen, and I stumbled upon it, was Royal Tenenbaums, and I just remember like I'd never seen a style like that before, where everybody spoke in this strange way. It's like everybody is sort of strange and peculiar and kind of cute, but they're not aware of it. That's what the thing that works about his style is like everybody is off kilter, but the people in his movie in this world, like they don't realize that they're part of a strange, act. They're just
yes.
existing in this world, and I think that's the thing that really works. Royal Tenenbaums just made me laugh so much. I think Jane Hackman, he's still going. By the way, they showed photos of him, outside his home, didn't they? Like a month ago, and it's like I forgot the guy's still going. He's like in his 90s, but he is so funny in that movie as like the deceptive, horrible ex-husband, patriarch of the family, Royal Tenenbaum, who fakes having cancer to get back into the family.
Yeah.
It's deplorable, but really, really a funny film. But yeah, and his style is adapted over the years. I don't think he's a one trick pony. I think he tries to mix up, challenge himself, reinvent himself in his own little space. And everybody's saying that this is the most Wes Anderson film that was ever. I don't know. I don't really agree with that. I think Asteroid City has purpose. I think it's on a surface level can appear like a very shallow film, but I think it might secretly be one of his like most subtext heavy movies. Um, but it's you got to keep up with it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing this, like there's a lot of layers to Asteroid City, but
There's a
like
lot of
nobody's
layers.
really told me what they are yet. Like I'm hearing there's a lot of subtext and all this kind of stuff, but like I don't know what
Yeah,
is going on underneath all of this. Again, I didn't dislike the film. I liked the film quite a bit. I thought the emotional scenes, especially near the start of the film with Jason Schwartzman and Tom Hanks, which is his first uh, Wes Anderson film, I believe. He fit in very well, I thought. Um, I thought they were great. They were building up to this interesting thing. In fact, I think I think I loved most of the first half of this film. I loved the quirky alien coming out of the
oh
skies in
yes.
that kind of weird stop motion style, and and then it just kind of all.
Which turns
eh,
out to be Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's this whole framing device of it's a TV show about a play
Yes.
about the story that we're seeing, which I liked, but I didn't feel like I felt maybe the framing device was more show offy than
I think
anything
I think it
itself.
builds up. I think it shows promise towards the end where we really get the payoff with the mother. The storyline with Margot Robbie's character, or is it the wife? Sorry, the wife who passed away. Is it? Sorry, am I missing? I'm getting my
Well,
plot
I
lines
mean,
mixed up here.
yeah, she was going to play the wife that
Yes,
passes
yes,
away.
and it's almost like he's speaking to his dead wife, isn't it? I'm forgetting. I'm forgetting the
Yeah,
relationship.
yeah. No, no, no.
Cut
You're right.
this.
You're right. But it is also like she's giving him um
But it's a
like
sense of
acting
closure for that
advice.
character, like that he wouldn't have got in the reality of this play. But because it's kind of how it's really cringy and corny to say, but it is how art and real life kind of mix and intermingle together, and how characters within a story can really like they exist outside of their mold. So there's a real sort of, even though his films and the sets that he conjures up are very two-dimensional or 2.5 dimensional, they really have characters that feel like they're three-dimensional, and they exist beyond this realm. I love the opening shot of this movie where it establishes just the set that we're going to be on. I think it's really fun where we see the half completed um, bridge.
Yeah.
Got a real laugh out of me whenever I saw that, and it's just like it's. I think it's a film I'm going to have to revisit a couple of times because it's so fast in terms of what it's trying to deliver to you, and I just feel like you have to meet the challenge in a way. And I think a couple more watches of this, and I think you can really tap into something really special. It's like, yeah, I haven't completely figured it out. I haven't really read the Discord online. It's
Yeah,
interesting
what
that
is
you.
the subtext, Chris?
Well, what I'm saying is, I haven't really got there yet. I feel it, right. I hear it. There's everybody. There seems to be like interested in that sort of 50s paranoia and how that kind of actually maybe might even translate to our time experiencing with COVID, and our sort of sense of loss of control
Well, they
over
did
something
lock
that
them
we are
down.
limited in understanding.
They did lock them down in the film. I did wonder if there
Exactly.
was maybe some kind of parallel. This was his COVID film. I'm
Sure.
not sure. I do feel it just kind of built up to not much. Like at the end, it just kind of ended, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I wasn't really sure how I felt, but maybe that was maybe the idea was, like COVID times. It was this kind of big thing. We were all locked down. We were unaware of everything that was going on, and then obviously
Hmm.
this takes over the span of like a month or something. Then, but here in our life, it's kind of like we're just kind of like, oh, we're just back to normal now,
Yeah.
as if nothing happened. But like at the same time, a lot did. I don't know if maybe that's what he was going for. Maybe that
Hmm.
is the subtext. I don't know.
I think probably people might be struggling entering this film as well, because I think that he's always been very heavy on how the movie is constructed, laying out the principal players and the structure of the story. And I think this movie probably does that to the nth degree, where it really like emotionally disconnects you at the beginning, where you're really just trying to get your bearings on where the story is going to go. I think it's his most non-linear film in terms of like it doesn't really have a plot. We're sort of just spending the time with these characters and seeing where they sort of go. And that's why I really think that it deserves like a revisit. Like now you know where you're sort of contending with, and it's a really text heavy film. Returning to that and kind of digging in, but I get why people would be struggling, because maybe that's not the rule of a film. Maybe a film should be able to convey that message on the first go. But it does leave me interested to return to it. And yeah, I mean, it sounds like a really basic thing, but you know, you cannot contend with the aesthetic that he conjures up here. There's gorgeous blue skies and that desert atmosphere.
Oh yeah,
You
it
just
is
want to, you just want to,
stunning.
yeah. It's the only time I've ever wanted to go to the desert. you know,
Yeah,
um, yeah. It's a stunning film. It's
it
interesting.
is
I
beautiful.
think it's the only Wes Anderson film I've seen in a cinema. So like, it's kind of a weird film to see in like a multiplex, and like you don't really know the backgrounds of other viewers, or how well they're versed in like of seeing a Wes Anderson film, and you're like, kind of trying to like gauge the vibe in the room all the time, because you know his movies are always very chuckle worthy, but it's knowing when to like laugh or respond to things is quite interesting
Yeah,
sometimes too.
I
Um,
thought this was not as funny as it
mm,
could have been.
it's not Grand Budapest Hotel for laughs. The
No,
Bryan Cranston like entering. into the frame at the wrong time thing was very funny. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think. Do you know what? I think this was a problem with Indiana Jones. Not to go back to review that film again, but like,
We spent 40 minutes on it.
yeah, like Dial of Destiny wasn't that funny either. I thought,
Criminally unfunny.
Jokes didn't land as well, and I think I don't know about your cinema audience. I went to see in the Watershed in Bristol, which is obviously their art cinema. So like with a relatively busy crowd, and you feel like it was made for those kind of people. They probably knew that what they were expecting, as opposed to maybe like your multiplex, where I imagine you might have had a busier audience because the TikTok trend was making Wes Anderson big for the last few months.
It's like 30 people on our screen.
Just does very centrally framed sections of film.
The symmetry, yeah.
They took one element of his filmmaking style and just repeated it. Anyway, enough about the TikTok trend. But I don't know. Were my audience? I don't think were laughing that much. Like,
there was about one or two people I heard like out loud laugh in a couple of scenes.
Was it you?
But, yeah. No, you know what? I probably did about 30 to 30 chuckles. I there's never outward laughs here, but I giggled. I had fun.
I feel like I can remember 2.
Oh dear! I just like a stone faced.
But like, I still liked it. Like, this thing, like, I didn't dislike it. I just left like, I think I was all for it in the first half, and I think in the second half, I kind of was like, is this going anywhere? And I didn't feel like it did.
You shout at the screen. Is this going anywhere?
Is this going anywhere? I was like, it just left me feeling a bit cold, and it was a shame because it was less than 24 hours after Indiana Jones. Both films, I kind of came out going like, yeah, okay, it was fine. I think I preferred Asteroid City to Dial of Destiny.
That's the right answer.
That being said, actually, no, I don't really feel the urge to rewatch either of them anytime soon. Yeah,
sure. I get it, man. I mean, I completely agree with Indiana Jones. It's this is our warm up. I think we've got some. July is looking good. July is looking tasty for some good releases. So
yeah, I mean, we are looking at potentially, if they're all to be as good as the hype suggests, then 3 very good films in Mission Impossible, Barbie. I know you're referring,
Barbie and Oppenheimer. There's no like critic response yet, though, is there?
I believe some people have seen Oppenheimer. I don't know critically, but I think there's like word of mouth saying it's good. Not sure anybody's kind of seen Barbie.
Have you not
at least
not
revealing anything? Yet? But like, the hope is it's going to be good. It'll probably do well, and it kind of needs to because, I mean, so many films are losing money this year that we kind of need some big wins in the summer blockbuster. But I also think Hollywood do need to learn their lessons and maybe just like lower the budgets, man.
Yeah.
We aren't watching films like we used to. And that is, partly the pandemic's fault and partly the fault of Marvel films, partly the fault of streaming. All these films are available to stream not long after they have been released these days. So,
it's we're living in the period of distribution, and as much as we talk about A24 a lot, and we like to stress that they mainly buy and distribute films, and they end up being usually quite critically successful. Everybody seems to have to rely on a label to get them to the cinema. If there's no sort of like stamp of approval of certification, then it's not worth me getting in my car and driving somewhere. I'm not going to take a chance on something that I haven't heard of. And I think we need to get out of that mindset that we need to be coddled on our way to going to see a film. Take a chance. I mean, and in turn that allows our filmmakers to make more risks too, because they're shackled too by the industry. It's hard. We're looking at a time where it's kind of just a downward spiral. Our cinema chains are like going into administration. They're struggling just to get people to go. I just hope that we get some new filmmakers break the mold soon, or some sort of commercial realization that we need to sort this out, because we cannot lose this art form. If we lose cinemas, I'm literally going to jump off a roof. I can't. I like it. There'll never ever beat the experience of seeing a film on a big screen compared to home. It doesn't matter how good your sound system is or how nice your TV is. It's just never going to beat that experience of taking yourself away from your phone, away from your house, and sitting in a dark room with a bunch of strangers, seeing a big movie that you've been excited for. It's just, yeah.
So true. But on the other side of that coin, I try not to go on the weekends anymore.
It's hit and miss. It's hit and
Cinema
miss.
etiquette has gone out the window.
Oh, dude, honestly, when I went to see Indiana Jones, I was the only person in that whole screen that wasn't holding a hot dog.
Oh God,
and like
stinky showing.
It's the smell. I know. It's like, I don't get these. I think these, I won't say the brand or anything. Like, there are these hot dogs that you get in like your local garage or shop for like £1, and like they'll like happily buy them in these cinema chains, the same brand, for £6 or £7. Like, it's like, can you not eat? Sorry, I know I'm probably offending some people. Like, you can eat. It's fine.
Oh no, I mean, I worked in a cinema. We were just rolling those things on the heaters all day. Sometimes, like, disgusting.
Nachos with big jalapeno peppers like scattered on top of them. Like, yeah, perfect.
Oh yeah, the cheese sauce that came out of a bag.
Sauce.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah. It's a strange time. I always if I'm going, because I'm surrendered to the multiplex, unlike yourself, but I just tend to go like weekday nights. They are good.
Yeah.
Makes you tired for work, but it's worth it.
When it's worth it, it is.
Go if you have the pleasure of an IMAX screen near you, go see an IMAX screening of a film, because people pay more to get into that screen, so they tend to behave themselves more because they want to see the movie too.
That's true. Yeah, Bristol is sorely lacking an IMAX, but
you'll get one. I'm sure.
I think we had one.
Nobody wanted to go to it.
Yeah. I would like to see Oppenheimer in it, but or like the big screen. I think the Watershed are doing 35mm screenings of it, which would be nice, but also their screens aren't huge.
Yeah, but it's the experience, isn't it? It's like you go there to be surrounded by your people, so that's why. You go.
Exactly. Always good cinema etiquette in
a couple of times I've been very impressed.
Always very good. However, very difficult, and you feel uncomfortable having to like leave for the loo or anything. Like, they're very difficult to get out of the aisles without everybody having to stand
theater
up.
seats, aren't they?
Yeah, I try to go on an edge so that, like, if I do need to go out to the loo, then I'm not upsetting everyone. But it does feel a little bit more awkward in this. I'm not gonna lie. You get to take a beer in with you, though. Always love that.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember going in there on a hot summer's day with cider, and it was like, it was so good. It was bliss. I got a cold cider, and I got to watch a great movie. So
especially if you like a daytime buzz, watching a good film, like, nothing better than that.
Yeah, and you don't feel crappy, because when you go to a multiplex during the day, you feel crappy because you're the only person sitting in the room, and you're like, I should be at work. and then whenever you go to the Watershed, there's people like there's full screens during the middle of the day, the weekday, and you don't feel so crappy. So there's that too as well. Yeah, we probably overthink of stuff. Most people just go see a movie, but we have to like put everything. We put our lives into this. The stakes are so high. So true.
Well, anyway,
that goes our reviews of Indiana Jones.
We said we wouldn't go over an hour. We've got over an hour.
Oh, these are,
to be honest,
such a big movie.
I had to get into it. We had to.
Yeah, it's important. It's important to us. We talk about Indiana Jones a lot. Outside of the podcast. I think we talk about Harrison Ford a lot. I think we sit and play video games, and we would just do Harrison Ford impressions.
I thought you were going to say we do Harrison Ford.
Yeah, still would.
Part-time.
Best line in Kingdom. Best line. All right, guys. I think that does it for this week's episode of the Film Angle before we go down a path of no return.
Absolutely.
As always, please listen to us. Follow us on Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, wherever you guys get your podcasts from. You can follow us at The Film Angle on Instagram. TikTok, I mean, like, I dip my toe in it a little bit. I'm not. You know what? I've surrendered to the fact I'm not a TikTok content creator, Alex.
Oh,
I'll leave that stuff to you.
yeah, I know. It's
The
my
handsome dog.
face all over it. God damn it.
Yeah, that's why it's not successful. Yeah.
Some of the videos are.
Yeah, the ones with is it the ones with your gold retriever? It's very pretty. Very pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Social media loves dogs, all right?
No, but we tried to post as much as possible. So yeah, definitely Instagram is your best place to follow us at the moment, and also you can find our handles to our letterbox accounts on our Spotify page and Instagram as well. But for now, this has been the Film Angle. It's been great talking to you this week, Alex. We enjoyed it.
It has. We'll be back onto our BFI lists and all that kind of stuff next week.
Yeah, I don't think there's that much new release. I think we got Pixar's Elemental this week. I'm not going to be racing to catch it, especially what I've been hearing from it. You know, I've heard it's okay, but I'm not going to be driving on my way to catch up with Pixar's new effort, unfortunately. So I think next week we will be a nice catch up with the BFI list. So which is always kind of like my favorite episode. So I'm looking forward to that.
You never know. You might be watching a 5-star masterpiece. So you know.
Exactly, which is always like an exciting promise. So that does us for now. See you guys later.
Goodbye.
Bye.